So I am a historian, writer, author, curator, and consultant for the graffiti movement and for people who are interested in and want to learn more about it. The work that I do as a historian slash author started when I was a kid. I started taking photos of the trains in New York City. I was painting them, but I started documenting them because I saw that they were being destroyed by the city and they needed to be photographed and documented. I learned early on from Henry Chalfant, who was doing that work, and I sort of copied what he was doing, and he became a mentor of sorts. So since the mid-'80s, I documented what was happening in the streets, what was happening on the trains, and I continue to do that wherever I travel in this city and around the world. That led to me wanting to write about it, to tell the stories that were behind the images on the walls of the trains, and ultimately it led to me starting to publish books that captured the spirit of the movement, but really also captured the stories of significant players in the movement. So I began to write biographies on important figures within the graffiti art movement, people like ket2, Part 1, and Ghost as an example. That perhaps led me to begin to curate. I was known, I guess, before that as someone who had access to everybody. I kept a good relationship with everybody, everybody meaning the artists in this particular movement. And so as I started working within corporate America and within media, I became known as someone who knew how to deal with people, who knew how to deal with artists. And that turned into me working with artists to partner them with either companies for opportunities, or collectors, or institutions, buyers, whatever. So I was seen as like this good connector. And then ultimately that led to institutions and people seeking me out to curate shows that they could install in their institutions or in their galleries, so that they can make money, so that they can deliver something compelling and new to their audience members. I think what I can do well is connect people with the real deal. Connect people with the artists that are really important in the history of this movement, that are really the talents, that are not necessarily the fly-by-nights, like the brand new art school kids with a lot of training, but the people that have a historical significance within this movement. I work with those people, I deal with those people, those are my friends and my peers, and so as a result I have access to those people. Most people don't have access to those people. They don't know who they are. They might have to read them in a book. They don't know how to find them. And when you do find them, they won't want to have anything to do with you because they won't trust you. You have no history with them. You have no common ground, so to speak. So I do have a common ground. We speak the same language. We know the same people. And we've been seeing each other and working together for many years. So I think that that's a particular advantage that I have for being someone that's really from this movement, where others might not be. Well, I guess what we call graffiti art, or what people call graffiti art, or writing, or graffiti vandalism, whatever. But the stylistic writing of letters, right? Wild style lettering, maybe you want to call it, right? That is a tremendous art movement. It's the biggest art movement ever to exist on this planet. It surpasses the Dadaists, the abstract expressionists, the surrealists that might have been like a dozen or so people. We are talking about tens of thousands of practitioners around the planet with new participants every day. It's tremendous. It's big. Of course, the masters are few, but the followers are many, and the devotees are many, and it's been happening for close to 40 years now. And so I don't know what other art movement has lasted so long, you know, that's been recognized by the fine art world as a movement, or by anybody as a movement. We have history, we have masters, we have followers, we have pupils in every corner of the planet. It's being done everywhere. Where you would not expect it to be, we're there. And so, will the fine art world take notice or accept it or embrace it? It doesn't really matter, because it's got a life of its own. It's happening, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you want to buy it or not, whether you want to accept it or not. It's happening. And you know, if you're over 40 and you have kids, your kids are probably doing it. Your kids aren't doing it, their friends are doing it. You know people who did it when you were kids. That's how it is. And so it's just part of the fabric of the world today. It's just what it is. This is a sign of our times, and it's going to stay that way. And so as time progresses and the art movement that we're talking about, the graffiti movement, gets older, some of the masters are passing away, you know, and with that, they're, you know, they leave a legacy behind, and it's our job to carry on that legacy. And like I said, it doesn't really matter if the contemporary art world pays attention or not. This is a street movement anyway, and so this is a public art movement anyway. And so yes, some of it is splintered and gone into the museums and the galleries, but that's just one little, you know, piece of it. There's others that won't have anything to do with that, that are purely muralists, that are purely train writers, that are purely outlaw artists, that have nothing to do with it. So it's going to live in many forms, and it's going to be remembered as an art movement that was huge, that had a tremendous impact on the urban landscape. And so, yeah, that's what I think. I believe it's already eclipsed some of the other art movements that people like to talk about. This is bigger and probably better. Things don't really happen as easily as they could, and we need money to fund new institutions, to fund artists to continue to create work, and to create legacy, to create, you know, things that we can leave, you know, whether it's libraries or museums, things like that. We need institutions to support this movement, to start dedicating themselves to the study of this, to start allocating funds from their acquisition budgets to start acquiring artwork. We need public advocates to push the stodgy museum people to wake up. We need collectors to do the same. We need collectors to buy the artwork and continue to give it value. We need artists to continue to create great work. You know, those are some of the things that we need. You know, we need people to wake up and understand that it's not going anywhere. We need cities to start to understand what's going on. So we probably need some lobbyists. We need politicians on our side. You know, we need people to come together and not see this movement as a problem, but as this movement, as the great art movement that it is, and help us celebrate it and take it to another level. Moments in time within my experience of art that got me to where I am today. I think I would begin in 1982, discovering graffiti for the first time, really being aware of it. Before I wasn't really aware of it, really discovering and seeing it in my community. 1984, meeting the first real writers and first real people in this movement and learning about it from an insider's perspective. 1987, starting to paint subway trains in New York City and really becoming invested in the movement. The same year, meeting Henry Chalfant and starting to hang out with him, and he was an important photographer for this movement. 1994, being in college and learning about the history of communication, and that only, I don't know, Anglo, white Americans or Caucasians own everything and being pissed the fuck off. 1995, launching my first magazine to counter what I thought was an injustice in media and communication. 2000, launching my second magazine with the help of Echo Unlimited to start covering contemporary fashion and art. 2003, I think, or 4, working on a graffiti video game called Getting Up and serving as a consultant to a variety of companies that wanted to come out with products that use the artwork and the feeling of this culture. The same year was 2003 to 2004, starting a publishing company with my friend Akeem Walta in Berlin to tell our stories and tell our histories. And our first book was Martha Cooper's Hip Hop Files, and it was a great success. 2008, being hired by the Cartier Foundation to curate and organize a massive graffiti exhibition in Paris. And maybe 2000 and now working with the Museum of Contemporary Art in Los Angeles to present Art in the Streets, which is the biggest graffiti and street art exhibition that has ever been organized ever. So maybe not, off the top of my head, those could be it. There's maybe, more personal ones, like my first Top to Bottom, or the time I wrote my name 10,000 times in one night on the inside of a train, or something like that. Or, a story about escaping from the police, creating artwork, or when I sold a painting. But I think that those particular highlights, I think, are ones that talk about my involvement within this movement, as an artist, as a historian, as an agitator. Maybe I could write in 2007 being arrested by the police in New York City and being charged with umpteenth crimes related to graffiti. So maybe we'll do 11. But I think that those are the ones, those events have shaped who I am today and what I do today. So that's nice. It. Numbers 1 through 10 and bonus 11.
Cool. That's it.
Thank you.
That's perfect. So you stay recording. I walk, and that's it.